Santa.
Jesus.
Santa.
Jesus.
Santa.
Jesus.
Stop!
Santa.
Stop! What are you two doing?
We're arguing who's better. Santa.
Jesus.
Yeah, but Santa gives you all these nice presents.
And Jesus gives you eternal life.
Yeah, but Santa's a dude, bro.
Yeah, but Jesus is a baby that grew up to change the entire world.
Fair.
Is somebody arguing in there? Ho, ho, ho! If you want to know who's better, Santa or Jesus, you could try asking me, you know?
What are you doing here, Santa?
Well, I'm just doing my rounds, checking how you're all behaving, seeing who I'm going to put on my nice list, and seeing who I'm going to put on my naughty list. And you guys were fighting, weren't you?
No.
So, fighting and lying! Two naughty things. I think I better move you over to my naughty list.
Please don't.
Please.
Well, we'll see how you can behave. Anyway, you could try asking me, old Father Christmas, who I think's better, Santa or Jesus.
Mum, we know it's you. You can take off your cotton wool beard.
What? I don't know what you mean. What, you don't think I'm the real Father Christmas?
Yes, I do not think you're the real Father Christmas.
Oh, who else would I be then?
Liz Young.
My mum.
Oh.
All right. Thank you very much, Ginny. Yes, I'm sorry, everybody. I'm not the real Father Christmas because it's COVID. He would come, but if he came here, he's then going to have to self-isolate for 14 days. And then who would tell the elves how they're getting on in the toy making? So we know you'd like to see him, but we didn't want to ruin Christmas. But I have been Zooming with him just half an hour ago. Everything's going fine for Christmas, you'll be pleased to know. And he has told me all about himself, and he has told me the answers to who is better, Santa or Jesus. So if you'd like to sit on the bed, my warring children, I'm going to tell you a story. Right, budge up. I want room too. Yeah, I invite you budge over. I'll sit on the edge.
Well, I want to sit on the edge.
Get on. Honestly, definitely naughty this. So, Santa Claus was originally a boy called Nicholas, and he grew up in a place that was called Asia Minor. So he would think he was in Greece. Now we'd say he was in southern Turkey. So it was in a hot country years and years and years and years and years ago. About 250 years after Jesus. So if you want to know who's better, so far, Jesus came first. Now, poor old Nicholas, when he was a little boy, he had some very wealthy parents who were Christians. They had heard of Jesus and they knew the Bible and they raised him in faith from an early age. Now, unfortunately, they died when he was a young boy.
Ouch.
So he was left in the care of some other family. But before they died, they gave him that gift of faith. He knew stories from the Bible, and after they died, he continued to read them. And he eventually grew up, and when he was still quite a young man, he became first a vicar, and he travelled around a bit.
Like you.
Then he was vicar in the time, no, not yet, just studying. Then he was vicar in a time, the Roman Empire, when they didn't like Christians at all. So then he got imprisoned for a couple of years. And then he came out, and then he became a bishop, which is like a super good vicar, basically, that's the boss of all the other vicars. So he was really senior in the church. But that's not what he was famous for. Saint Nicholas was famous, in fact, he was just Nicholas at the time, Bishop Nicholas, was famous for helping people wherever he could. And as I mentioned before, his parents had been really wealthy. So he had money and he was famous for sharing it with the poor. He was famous for doing miracles. He was famous for calming seas. The place he lived was on the water. So he had a lot to do with lots of the sailors that were coming in and out of the port. There's rumours of him saving some men from being executed unjustly. And he had a really, really good name all around the area. Now, one of the things he was supposed to have done is, where he lived, there was a man who had 3 daughters, and he was a nice man, but he'd lost all his money. He was quite poor. And in those days, can you believe it? If you wanted your daughter to get married, you have to pay a dowry. So you'd have to pay some man to take your daughter off your hands. Because in those days, women weren't allowed to work.
Ouch.
They weren't considered to be particularly good for much. And so, if you didn't have money to pay someone to take your daughter off, they weren't going to get married. And then when you as your dad died, they wouldn't have anybody to look after them. So this man was really, really upset and really sad about it. Now he had 3 daughters. And one night, they went to bed and they left their socks by the fire warming as they did. And when they woke up in the morning, somebody had put some gold coins in their socks. They'd thrown it through the open window and the coins had landed in their socks by the fire. No, not ready yet, get back. Who did this, they thought. The man was overjoyed. The coins were enough to give a dowry for his first daughter. So he went, offered some bloke some money. Will you marry my daughter? Yes, no problem. Then he knew his daughter was all taken care of. The man was very happy. Now, next time came. Matty's taken his coins out of the bag. Somebody else threw some coins through the open window. Matt, can you get coins into the open sock from there?
Oh.
Nice. Yay! Nice. Nice.
And finally,
Not going to be very much to live on, is there?
Oh, no, he missed it. He's now gone down the radiator.
sorry.
And as you can see, there were coins in the sock, and the second daughter would have a dowry. Now, on the third time, the man was determined to find out who was giving him this gold, who was being so kind and giving him such the gift of security for his daughters, really. So on the third night, he hid and he waited to see what would happen, and along came somebody.
Oh, oh,
Oh,
oh, oh, oh,
you might be here all
Oh.
day.
oh.
Terrible. It wasn't you. Along came Saint Nick. He saw Saint Nick throwing the coins through the open window, and they landed. Oh, they landed
Skillful.
in the stocking. Now Saint Nicholas said, "Don't tell anyone what I've done. This is my gift to you for your daughters, but I don't want you going and spreading it all around." But somehow or other, the good news of St. Nicholas's kindness spread, and people were so impressed by what he did, and they were so thankful for a man like St. Nicholas, that actually his name began to spread, and he became really famous. And over the land where he lived, people started hanging up socks or leaving out shoes. And strangely enough, little gifts started appearing in those socks and shoes. And when people needed something, they would leave it by their fire, and somehow what they needed would be given to them. And so the name of St. Nicholas spread and spread and spread throughout that land. Now, as I mentioned before, it was a port, so lots of ships came in. And the word for St. Nicholas, not just for leaving money, but also for helping the poor, giving his time, being a presence, talking to the sailors, doing many miracles of healing. His reputation spread. So soon he was known not just in Greece, not just in Turkey, but in Spain, in Italy, in Germany, in Austria. It spread throughout Europe. And over time, St. Nicholas became known throughout the whole of Europe. And they began to celebrate him on this day, on the 6th of December, because that was the date that St. Nicholas died. And although St. Nicholas had died by then, his spirit carried on, because all the people who put their stockings and their shoes out found little gifts inside them. And even though he wasn't bodily here anymore, somehow his spirit has carried on through the years. And that spirit has spread, and word spread. And it went not just to Southern Europe, but went to Central Europe, went to Northern Europe, and then it travelled all the way across to America. And it grew throughout America. And over the years it's travelled to Africa and South America. And now you find it that the world knows about St. Nicholas. Now, when it was travelling, people were explaining, you can imagine, can't you? Someone from Northern Europe, I've come to talk to you about St. Nicholas. An American go, what? Buddy, what was that? St. Nicholas. What, buddy? St. Nicholas. Santa Claus. Gee, he sounds like a good man. And that's how the name St. Nicholas became Santa Claus. And over time, people wrote stories about this Santa, about this St. Nick. And they started telling people what he would have looked like. And they started telling people that he had a red suit and a nice white beard made of cotton wool that's still hanging out at my nose. And even though St. Nicholas, the man who started it all, was no longer there, the spirit of St. Nicholas has carried on. And it's that spirit, it's that love, it's that generosity, it's that magic of receiving something that you really want without having to do anything for it that lives on today. That is what Father Christmas is about. It's about carrying on that spirit of St. Nicholas, giving us things because he wants us to have good things. Not necessarily because we deserve it, though hopefully you are all on the nice list and you do some good stuff, but giving us things that we would like as a way of showing love and care. So St. Nicholas and Santa Claus, who is carrying on St. Nicholas's work and who is working for all of us now and is loading up his sleigh, hopefully, with loads of goodies for us all, is really living out some of Jesus's work. And when I spoke to Santa earlier and said, look, people are arguing, some people are saying Santa's better than Jesus, he was really quite shocked because he told me that the reason he gave to people was because he was so thankful for the love that he received from Jesus and from God. He was able to share that love because he'd first received it from God and from Jesus. And when he was alive, everything St. Nick did was in the name of Jesus and in the name of God. And just as the spirit of Christmas continues, the spirit of Jesus is what we should be thinking about now. We're coming up to Christmas. Soon we'll have the baby in the manger and we'll think about the angels and the shepherds and the camels and all of that good stuff. And we'll think about this little baby. And that little baby, just like St. Nicholas, is no longer physically here on earth. But it's the spirit of that baby that lives on. That baby represents God's love for us. God sending himself into our world as a light to show us how we need to be and how we need to grow. A little baby that, as Ginny rightly said, impressed with that gin, grew up and changed the world. Not with an army, not with loads of money, not with anything but pure and utter love. So it doesn't matter whether this Christmas you first think about Santa, as long as you then remember that Santa Claus, St. Nicholas, his giving comes a result of Jesus. And when you think about Santa, think about that little baby in the manger. Think about all the things God has given us. And try to think about how you can spread that spirit this Christmas. So I'd like you to close your eyes and think of somebody you know. Could be somebody you love. Could be a friend in your class. It could be a lady next door. And I would like you to think of something that you think would make them happy this Christmas. It might be making them a cup of tea. It might be giving them a present. It might be drawing them a picture. It might be going socially distanced and singing them a carol or doing them a dance on their doorstep. It could be Zooming your gran or grandmother. Could be Zooming your auntie. Could be anything. Think of someone you know and think what you can do now. And think how you can spread a little bit of love to somebody you know this Christmas. Now, while you think about it, you've got 10 seconds to carry on thinking, and then we're going to finish our Sunday school by saying the Lord's Prayer all together. 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. We say together, Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come. Thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us today our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. Lead us not into temptation, and deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, the power, and the glory, for ever and ever. Amen. I thought you lot were joining in with me. Wicked child. Whispered it, honestly.
Oh, joining in for the first bit, and then I heard, and then Ginny wasn't saying it. So I was like, was I not meant to say it?
Honestly, never follow the person next to you in church. Just say it.
I didn't
Right.
know it.
Mum.
He didn't know it.
You've been saying it since you were like 3 years old.
Anyway, I'm going to transfer these to the naughty list for fighting. I'm going to transfer Jess for the naughty list for just saying that she doesn't know the Lord's
I don't
Prayer.
know it though.
Shocking. It was the old version we went into. And I'm going to ask you all to don't just think about Santa. Think about Jesus, the reason for the season, and do something to spread a little bit of love this Christmas. And hopefully we will see you sometime over the next few weeks. Bye.
Bye.